Hi guys, welcome back. Day two. I'm so excited. If you haven't met, this is Finn. If Yoga with Adrian gets Benji, I get to have Finn. Okay, so day two is Psalm two. Fully admitting, I had not really spent a lot of time with this psalm before, but again, we're going to be using the Alabaster book. This is the NIV translation, and this is the beautiful artwork for it. So let's see. Psalm 2. Why are the nations so angry? Why do they waste their time with futile plans? The kings of the earth prepare for battle. The rulers plot together against the Lord and against his anointed one. Let us break their chains, they cry, and free ourselves from slavery to God. But the one who rules in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. Then in anger he rebukes them, terrifying them with his fierce fury. For the Lord declares, I have placed my chosen king on the throne in Jerusalem on my holy mountain. The king proclaims the Lord's decree. The Lord said to me, You are my son. Today I have become your father. Only ask, and I will give you the nations as your inheritance, the whole earth as your possession. You'll break them with an iron rod and smash them like clay pots. Now then, you kings, act wisely. Be warned, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with reverent fear and rejoice with trembling. Submit to God's royal Son, or he will become angry and you will be destroyed in the midst of all your activities, for his anger flares up in an instant. But what joy for all who take refuge in him. Okay, so again, as in yesterday, some harsh language, which can be challenging for a lot of people when they're encountering the Psalms, also when they're encountering a lot of things in the Old Testament. I think it's important to remember that these are written for, hey, thanks, Finn. Not on camera, buddy. That these are written in a certain time and place. Some of the Psalms that we can date pretty accurately, but others we can't. So it's important to remember that this is like some of that language is specific to that time and that place and that group. And I wanted to pull some key words out of this psalm rather than kind of focusing on some of those larger themes. I wanted to pull a couple of words that stood out to me. First, the now then, you kings, act wisely. So the wisdom tradition, I think, especially through Proverbs, is really important, mostly because it's all about trying to learn how to act rightly. And I think that that's something that's applicable to everybody today. I think we're all trying to figure out in a very complex world with very complex problems what it means to live rightly. And so something that has been a huge gift to me through when I converted to Catholicism is this idea where they have spiritual formation, which is not something that you have if you grow up in a Protestant tradition. Not that they don't do spiritual formation, they definitely do, but it's not quite as structured. And one of the gifts that you get during spiritual formation is this idea of spiritual direction, which is something that I offer to others. But and a part of that is something called a discernment process. And so it's this understanding that built into our lives is this, difficulty sometimes making good decisions, or sometimes what's the best decision when you have multiple good options, especially right now where we are living in such an extraordinary time of abundance. I know a lot of people don't feel that, but we truly are. And so it can be hard to figure out exactly what that looks like. So for me, the idea of spiritual discernment when it comes to my decisions, or whether the feeling that I'm feeling is right feeling, comes down to a gift that I'm going to give you, which is a gift that we're given in the New Testament, which is called the fruits of the Holy Spirit. So if you don't know what they are, that's totally fine. It comes from Galatians, one of the letters from Paul, St. Paul, where he basically talks about, that you're in right relationship with Spirit when you're feeling or able to access these certain gifts. And so this is something that I have not really heard prioritized as much in my time as a Catholic as I did when I was growing up evangelical. And so I just thought that I would kind of bring that to the forefront. So the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And yes, I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget one. And so what that looks like is really just being able to say, if I can't access one of those things in a moment, it means there's still work for me to do. And that you should be having overall, like when you're either coming to a decision or interacting with another person or finding yourself in a situation, if you can't access the fruits of the spirit, it means that there's something for you to either address, something for you to surrender, an area for you to look at, something that you can bring to prayer, or meditation, or whatever that looks like for you. It just means that there's something there, like that there's almost like a block there for you to kind of drop in fully into the presence of God or source or spirit. And so I love that, because I think those are such clear cut examples of, like, how do you know if you're doing a good job? How do you know if what you're doing is the right thing? And so I think a lot of people who are a little bit more mature in their faith or a little bit mature in their spiritual practice will be able to tell you that they know when they're doing something right, because there's a sense of peace around it, or they're able to be really patient, or they have a lot of grace for people. You kind of hear those words. And so I just wanted to introduce that kind of an idea for you, because it's something that is so helpful for me, especially in any kind of spiritual practice that I'm engaging in outside of Christianity, whether that's like more of a Buddhist meditation or engaging with yoga or things like that. If I'm still able to touch those feelings and those gifts, then I know that I'm in the right spot, I'm in the right relationship. Because I don't know if you're like me, I sometimes can be blind to my own stuff. So if I'm feeling a little prideful or feeling a little bit self-righteous or feeling a little impatient, it means that there's something for me to look at before I bring it to somebody else. So anyway, there's so much more we could do with this on, but I'm just going to keep these short and sweet. So that's all I have for today. Finn is snoozing. I hope you guys have a great day.